What's up, you guys? Welcome to Don't Think, the podcast for people whose brains will never shut up and whose brains want them to make terrible decisions. Great. Thank you, brain. Now, I don't always make terrible decisions, okay? But when I do, it is to do with men and dating and romantic relationships. It actually takes up most of the space I have to make terrible decisions. Like if I made them elsewhere in my life on top of the romantic ones, everything would be a fucking disaster. So I try to keep everything else in my life like somewhat tidy and normal and rational. And then I just cause absolute chaos and havoc with my love life. Does this sound familiar? You might be entitled to compensation from shitty men. I'm joking. They'll literally never compensate. They won't even text back. But if this does sound familiar, whether it's with shitty men or shitty women or whoever you date, you are in the right place for today. Sometimes we get so wrapped up in the pursuit of someone that we entirely ignore everything we should really be considering, like whether we're compatible with them, whether they treat us well, whether we even fucking like them. Because sometimes it's actually not even, do I like him? It's, can I get him to like me so that I can like me? Or, as I like to put it, do I like him or do I just hate myself? And oftentimes it is indeed the latter. Sometimes it's both. Sometimes I like him and I also hate myself. So we're going to explore this today. Why do we pursue the wrong people even when we know they're wrong? Why do we stay in relationships with people who don't treat us well, even when we know they don't treat us well? Why do we miss exes who we weren't even happy when we were with them? Basically, why do we torture ourselves over the wrong people? Now, for the sake of trying to understand why we do this, let's just dumb it down to its most simple and bare form. Having a crush on someone who we know isn't right for us. I have, in so many instances, met someone and my first impression, it might be, wow, I don't actually even like this person at all. Like, not my vibe, nothing in common, values are misaligned, even like just seems like a dick. And then catch me a few weeks later, somehow infatuated with this person, right? Who I genuinely, on my first and my most true instinctive impression, I did not even like. Like, what is with that? I think in a lot of cases, when we see something in someone that makes us deem their opinion as gospel, we then sometimes hinge our self-worth on their validation. Let me try to say that in simpler terms. Like, if I decide your opinion matters for whatever reason, then I have to get you to like me so that I can like me. Spoiler, it never works. Now, let's talk about why we might appoint someone with this level of grandiosity. The biggest factor, I think, is when we see somebody as a challenge, right? Like if Joe Blow, who shows up at my doorstep begging to take me on a date, he has flowers, he loves me to death, he'll do anything for me. If he tells me, I choose you, I love you, that doesn't heal the little girl inside me. No, it doesn't make me feel like I've won. I need to win. I need the guy who doesn't like anyone, right? He's not ready for commitment. He has a ton of girls chasing him, but he doesn't want to settle down. That guy. If that guy chooses me, then yeah, that heals my little wounds. That makes the little girl inside me who got picked last in gym class and wasn't invited to the cool girl sleepover feel some sense of self-worth for even just like a fleeting moment. So oftentimes the challenging guy or girl happens to also not be the best choice, right? They're not the best partner. They're not the best romantic interest. Maybe they're a challenge because they're clearly not in a place to commit. Maybe they're a challenge because they just don't really seem that into me. They just don't like me. That's challenging. We have nothing in common. We're not a match. Maybe they're a challenge because they straight up are just a fucking asshole. In a lot of cases for me, that's been the situation. So I don't think it matters. Like, I'm not picky about why they're a challenge, right? My brain sees that challenge and it goes, yep, there's a game. And what do I feel the need to do when I see a game? Ooh, mommy needs to win the game. And this is where things really fall apart. Because we have to ask ourselves, what are we actually playing the game for? Like, what are we winning? Do we want to win the game? Like, oh, hey, yeah, I get them to like me. Great. Or do we actually want to win the prize? Oh, hey, I got them to like me, and now I'm dating this person. That's the prize. The prize is that I'm in a relationship with this person. And that's often where the illusion falls apart. Because if you make it that far into the game, you win the prize. You find yourself realizing, wait, I don't even fucking want this prize. Someone said to me once, play ego games, win ego prizes. What does that mean? Well, let me explain it with a little personal story, okay? My most recent and biggest, baddest example of this is with my recent ex, who my story with could literally be the world's greatest metaphor for the message of this entire episode. I met him in Nashville. I recently said, quote me on this, nothing good happens in Nashville. My first impression of him was not good. I literally laughed at how much disdain I had for this person. I thought he was vain. I thought he was egotistical. He only cared about money. My first impression was pretty much bang on, as they often are. My dad always says, first thought, best thought, which hopefully is not true because I legit overthink and rewrite every episode of this podcast. So you guys are getting like my round 10 thoughts, not my first thought. But that was my first impression. I was like, oh, not the kind of person I would ever see myself with. Yuck. What did I go on to do? Yes. I went on to chase him for months, ultimately ending in us being in a relationship. Using that term loosely because in hindsight, it was more of a humiliationship. Also, it led to the demise of my mental health and overall life for literally like 8 to 9 months. And it was, in hindsight, somewhat of a game to me. And here's what happened too. I kept moving the goalpost, right? Because at first the game was, hey, this guy, he's not dateable. We have nothing in common, but it'll be fun to spend a weekend together, right? To get some of his attention. Because, you know, so many people are fighting for his attention. And the little game is to get some attention. Okay, great. Get some attention for the weekend. Then it was, well, maybe if I can just get him to like me, right? To really like me. Knowing that he clearly is just wanting to be a bachelor right now and in no place to settle down. Very obviously has a ton of girls on the go. Oh my God, if he likes me, then wow, won't I be able to like myself? I'll have finally done it. I'll have proved that I'm lovable. As if that ever works. It's almost as though we can't find love for ourselves in the hands of other people. Super weird. And then what happened? He liked me, so of course, I moved the goalpost again. If I can just get him to date me, to be my boyfriend, then I'll have really proved that I'm likable. I'm her, like I'm that girl. And I'm dumbing this down a bit because, of course, I did develop feelings for him and it was much more complicated than I'm making it out to be. But I really lost myself in this absolute desperate chase for this man's affection and his validation. It became soul-sucking. And at one point I realized I don't want the prize. So it was actually the night that we broke up. We were on a trip together for New Year's Eve, and I have promised and continue to promise that I will give the tea of that New Year's Eve breakup at some point because it needs its own episode. It honestly needs its own reality show. It needs like a Netflix docu where it's like the Nashville Swindler because it's honestly like a treasure of a story. I actually told this story on TikTok Live the other day. There was like 200 people on my live, and I was like, haha, you guys, if you get me to like 10,000 likes, I'll tell the story. Of course, they fucking do it. So they start telling the story. Doesn't my live go from like 200 viewers to like 10,000 or something crazy? And I'm like, oh my God. Like, that's how good this story is. I'm midway through the story. TikTok Live shuts off. I get a notification from TikTok. You've been banned from TikTok Live for threatening and violent behavior. I'm like, I wonder who was on that live that would have reported it. Anyway, we will get to that story. We don't have time today, but watch for it because it's a good one. So we're on this trip, okay? And his behavior had been so terrible in general and so bad towards me. And this display of like, look how much money I have. It was just as obnoxious as ever. And it was all just unsettling. And I was at the point where I couldn't bury it down. I couldn't shove it down anymore. And for some reason, I just couldn't escape this feeling of what am I doing? what have I done, right? Like my family, my friends are all at home celebrating New Year's Eve, and I'm on this trip with this guy and his friends, and I feel like an imposter. Like I'm showering, I'm getting ready for the evening, and I'm just hit with this huge wave of this is not the life that I want. These are not the people I want to surround myself with. These are not the values or the morals that I share. These are not the conversations that I want to be a part of or have. This is not the way that I want to be spoken to or treated. Here I had scratched and clawed my way to win this game and to win this prize, and I'm smacked in the face with holy shit. I don't want any of this. I am absolutely miserable. I got so caught up in the can I get it that I didn't ask the question of do I even want it? And that's often how the cycle goes. You see someone, you deem them as a challenge, right? Whether consciously or subconsciously. You make the decision of, wow, this is kind of fun. I want to play this game. I need to win this game. If you make it past the turmoil of the situationship or humiliationship phase with this person who's probably not right for you, you end up in a relationship with them. Maybe it's for 6 months if you're lucky. Maybe it's for 6 years. Maybe it's a lifetime. But one day you wake up and you ask yourself, why are we even together? Like, wait, what the fuck? And hopefully you get the courage to leave. And if you're me, you get the courage to leave, but then you usually like repeat the cycle, or you go back 100 times before you learn. You're like, I'm gonna leave, but then I'm gonna come right back. I'm not done yet. But I like to think that I'm making better choices now. But I've said that before. And I do sometimes, like, I wonder, oh, why am I struggling with relationships and other people are getting married and they're finding their person, and my friend from high school, she's her second baby. Oh, maybe, I'm willing to consider, maybe it's because I could be in a room full of 99 guys who are genuinely good for me. They treat me like gold. They love me. And one guy, he's not quite sure about me, right? He doesn't treat me so great. He's probably a fucking drug dealer. Who do you think I'm picking every time? Right? And then I'll go in and be like, nobody likes me. And I also, like, I'll defend my choices by saying, well, I can't help who I like. I'm not going to force myself to like someone who I don't have a spark with. Oh, the fucking spark. At what point do we realize the spark is just anxiety? It's literally our fight or flight being activated. The spark feels like a bear is chasing you, and you're like, oh, it's so fun. What? The more spark you have, the further and faster you should run. Oh, but he gives me butterflies. Those aren't butterflies, they're moths. And they're literally eating you from the inside out. You will die. What we should be looking for is no butterflies, no spark, safety, comfort, relaxation, happiness, ease. Like, oh, I feel like lambs. I don't know. I'm trying to think of something that doesn't feel like butterflies. I feel safe. I feel water when he's with me. I don't know. And this isn't just in pursuing someone, right? Like I said before, this can manifest itself throughout a relationship. And it's usually with a person who just simply won't fully give you what you want. So you continue to try to make yourself small enough to fit in this little fucking box that you have to cram yourself into to be in their life. And why? So that you can prove to yourself that you're lovable by someone who you probably don't even love. And that's what I realized that night in Nashville. I don't want to be in this box. I don't fit in this box. I'm not me in this box. So what do we do about it? How do we do better? How do we stop playing this stupid little game? How do we leave the relationship we've ended up in? How do we break free of the box? I think that just recognizing it and acknowledging it when it's happening is step one. Because if you're in this pursuit or this unhealthy relationship, or as I like to call it, humiliationship, you think to yourself, if he proposed tomorrow, would you want the person? If he was willing to give you 100% commitment, would you even want that? Do you want to grow old with this guy or girl? Do you want them to be the mother or father of your children? Do you want that person as a role model for your babies? If the answer is no, you can keep chasing them. You can stay in a relationship that you ultimately know you don't even want. But do it knowing that you've already admitted to yourself that it's not what you want. You're not being true to yourself. I'm not judging you guys. I've done it. I've done it so many times. But when you take a step back and you really look at the torture that you put yourself through and how you'd want to grab your friend by the shoulders and shake them violently if they were doing what you're doing. Like, think about it objectively, and it forces you to wake up a little bit. So if any of this is ringing true to you, remind yourself of these scientific reasons that you may be attached to this person or you may be playing this game, okay? Number 1, intermittent reinforcement. Unpredictable attention equals casino brain, slot machine brain. Your dopamine learns to chase crumbs because you never know when the next hit is coming. So that's addictive. So how do you break free from that? You break the cycle. You just stop hitting the slot machine. You stop pulling the trigger. The slot? The lever? I don't know. Number 2, limerence and fantasy bonding. You need to remind yourself that you're in love with a story, not a person, right? They are a canvas for your projection. When you really write down their personality traits, do you love them or do you love this made up version of them or how you've projected yourself onto them? Number 3, the anxious avoidant trap. So your pursuit plus their distance equals this illusion of chemistry. You're like, oh, butterflies. No, it's nervous system chaos. You're not soulmates. It's not spark. It's literally anxiety. If you remove the fact that you think he's hot or something, the feeling in your body is the exact same feeling as when your boss schedules a meeting called serious talk. That's anxiety. It's not good. Number 4, cognitive dissonance and sunk cost. Okay, this is, it's so hard to not think this, but you go, oh, I'm 28 or I'm 34. I've invested so much time. It has to be worth it. I've spent so much time with him. We've been through so much together. No, that is a sunk cost. What a sunk cost means is that it's already gone. You can't get it back. So walk away now instead of investing even more time. You're not getting any younger. Ouch. I know. I hate when people say that to me. I'm like, what if I do? What if I'm the exception and I do get younger instead of older? You're not getting any younger. And number 5, this is the last thing we need to remind ourselves if we're in this situation, self-esteem contingency. When you tie your self-worth to other people wanting you, you're going to end up chasing people who won't give you the validation, just to prove to yourself that you're likable. You don't like him. You just hate yourself. That feels so harsh. As hard as it is to believe, chasing an objectively mediocre man, begging him to give you the tiniest shred of human decency, that will not make you like yourself more. In fact, it has the opposite effect. It makes you like yourself less. So let's just cut it off right at the source. All right, you guys, let's get into the Don't Think deep dive. Today I asked the question, when was a time that you chased someone, tried to get someone to like you, only to realize you didn't even really like them? So let's hear what we had to say. Let's hear from Jack.
So, 10 years or so ago, I ended up meeting someone at work. At the time, I was feeling shit. There is layers upon layers upon layers of stuff on that, which I'll not get into because it's not really that relevant. But basically, I was just not in a good place. It had been going on for years. I was starting to feel really isolated. And this woman was just able to sort of notice something was wrong. And she was the first person to ask me, to be like, you don't seem all right. And then I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. This person's noticing me. And I ended up putting her on a pedestal. We didn't really have anything in common. And I probably wouldn't have chased after this person otherwise. But it was just that this could be something great for me. This could fix me. This person sees me, yada, yada. And I put like everything else aside, all the red flags aside, for that one thing. This woman was married, and so there was many other pieces of tea around this, but it got to like 9 months of us having this affair. We'd got like really involved, and I'd started therapy. And after starting therapy, I sort of realized, like, oh my God, I don't want to do this. This is really bad for me. And so I ended up breaking it off.
First of all, love a man that goes to therapy. Are you available for me? But no, putting them on a pedestal is so... Pedestal? Pedestal. I feel like I always say pedestal. That's not right. Putting them on a pedestal is so real. That's one thing I didn't really touch on, actually, when I talk about, like, why we sometimes hitch ourselves to the wrong people. So I'm so glad that you called in and made me think of this, because sometimes we do it because we're vulnerable, and a person like can offer something that helps us bury whatever we're struggling with. So in your case, you were going through a hard time, and this person made you feel seen and supported in a way that you weren't otherwise, right? So you kind of just like threw everything else out the window. And I also feel like this happens sometimes when you get out of a relationship or like a situationship where one big thing was missing, right? So like, let's say, for example, your sex life with your ex is terrible and you break up, and that's the main reason why you break up, right? You'll then either consciously or subconsciously put so much weight into that one aspect that was missing. So maybe you meet somebody new and the sex life is amazing, but everything else is absolute shit. They're literally like the worst person you've ever met, but like sex life is great. And you're like, well, no, they have everything I was looking for, right? Because you kind of get blinded because you put so much emphasis into that one thing because it wasn't there before. I've done this every time. In fact, I still do this. But yeah, that's really it's interesting, Jack. I love that you just like threw in, oh yeah, she was married, as if it's like just a slight little detail. Oh my goodness. I want to say we've all been there, but I personally haven't dated anyone who was married. Not judging. I mean, I'm judging the married people. I'm not judging the people that date. Okay. I'm judging a little bit. Let's hear from Anita.
So I chased somebody for 7 years. We met when I was 22, started dating. I am now 30 years old. We have broken up. And it was a 7-year chase. I was chasing this guy for 7 years thinking that I liked him. I liked his potential. I liked what I thought our lives could be. But when it came to the day-to-day of like what we were doing together, and how he would treat me, it turns out I don't like him at all. Now that I'm 30, if I met him now, I wouldn't have dated him. He's so boring. He doesn't do anything that's not associated with his job. The only thing that makes him happy is his success at work. And he doesn't really have any like close friends, and doesn't really care to talk to his family. Which to me, those things are really important to me, and especially like extracurriculars and finding yourself outside of work. So it really just breaks my heart that I spent 7 years thinking like he was the one. Although clearly we weren't compatible at all. And I think we were just lying to ourselves because it was really convenient and comfortable. So I would just recommend, if you have a gut feeling that you don't like somebody, or maybe that your lifestyles from the day to day, like the actual day, not thinking about what they could be, don't align, don't chase that man.
Well, first of all, Anita, 7 years is Olympic. Like, in a weird way, I actually really respect your dedication and perhaps delusion. I'm like, you type A legend. Sounds like you're having a lot of clarity now, though. But this is what I'm talking about. If you know from the beginning, which we often do, but we ignore it, that you're not compatible with someone, like, save yourself the heartbreak and the energy and the time. I did this with my ex as well. I mean, his entire life was partying and clubbing. And I remember thinking, like, I don't want this life. If anything, I want to party less than I currently do, not more. Like, I'm getting older, not younger. And he would kind of allude to like him changing or settling down, and it never happened. So instead of accepting it, I just kind of adapted, right? And was miserable and mad at myself for not believing what I was seeing. And it's that thing where it's like, if someone shows you who they are, believe them. The first time, believe what's in front of your face, not what you want to be in front of your face, right? If somebody holds up something blue in front of you and goes, it's red, are you like, okay, it's red then? Or are you like, no, it's fucking blue. Like, what are you talking about? But we do. We like tell ourselves these stories and we find ways to convince ourselves that, no, it's not blue, it's red. I can believe that. Okay, thank you guys for those call-ins. I have so many more that you guys sent that I want to share them all, but I don't have time. If this episode mildly offended you or like struck a chord with you, if you had to have a drink because of it, it's probably for you. I love you. Stop auditioning for the bare minimum. And remember, if you play ego games, you win ego prizes. And spoiler, those prizes suck. So share this with a friend who's chasing a walking red flag right now and embarrassing themselves. Share this with a friend who everyone is low-key like, oh my God, what is she doing with him? And please do follow me on Instagram if you want to participate in the Don't Think Deep Dive. Send in your stories, your questions, your embarrassments, and rate and review the show if your ego has ever wasted your time or if you just want to make me smile. Okay. I love you guys. Thanks for joining. See you next Thursday.